Going on, everybody? This is James Grandmaster Facts Voice, and you're here for another Facts Project review. Today we're going to be covering The Voice Said Kill, issue 1 for Image Comics, written by Si Spurrier, artwork done by Vanesa R, coloring done by Starr, and lettering done by Hassan Otsmane-Elhaou. Now, Si Spurrier just released a video on the Image Comics YouTube channel discussing the motivations for him to create this story, to where he understands that he's known for his highly concept characterizations in a lot of his characters, whether it's been his Warhammer novels, whether it's been the Hellblazer run, whether it's even with his mutant runs, the X-Force or Way of X. But cut to this, Vanesa R does something very interesting here, and it's something that Si Spurrier discusses in this video, to where anytime you understand that a scene is getting extremely loud, or better yet, that there's a lot of action to it, the penciling starts to get frayed and a little wild. And you can see that possibly like in the first 3 panels of this, right? But yet, if there's a calm texture to it, or better yet, if there's a scene or a panel that's particularly silent, you can see the characters as they are. The shapes are very stand out, and you know exactly like who's talking, who's not, or better yet, if it's a real quiet piece, all the pencils are very still. And if I didn't necessarily tell you the setting of this, you would take a guess. You would be like, okay, if you looked at the cover of this, you'd be like, okay, this could be the Vietnamese jungles, it could be the Amazon rainforest. But where we're at is the Louisiana Bayou. We're down in Cajun Country. These first 3 panels that we see here are the makings of a mental episode gone awry, to where you see this particular figure walking alone, desolate, in a swamp, talking to himself and not knowing exactly who they are. And where we're at is a wildlife refuge down in the Louisiana Bayou. As a matter of fact, we are at the Horrible Wildlife Refuge, and you'll come to find out that Hassan Otsmane-Elhaou does a lot of French pronunciations, of course, culturally, to that particular region of the United States, to where there is still French-speaking people, Creole-speaking people. And I find that, of course, fascinating. But the main character that we get introduced to, Sergeant Burgau. Obviously, Marie deals with certain things that you would ultimately feel like should be happening in a wildlife refuge in the bottom of Louisiana. For one, there's alligator poachers that are out here. There's moonshiners that are out here. There's crawdad farming that is happening out here. And if there's any particular trespassing that is happening on these lands, of course, they're wildlife law enforcement. So they do a lot of the things that park rangers do. They're arresting people who are trespassing on that site and turning them into probably Louisiana State Police. And you come to find out that one particular day, Mr. Norris is there to pick up a couple prisoners, but all the while there is a dark underbelly that is the happenings of how this story is going to get shaped. And we get introduced to a Mrs. Waters. Miss Waters seems to, her son is missing. For the most part, she believes that, Sergeant Burgau could possibly help her with this situation. Because if he's alone out here in these swamps, I hope that you would do me the service of finding him before anybody else does. As a matter of fact, she's just coming to the realization that she's by herself here, and this woman is very intimidating in the way that she's talking to her, and how this is pretty much constructed, especially due to the fact that when we're looking at the first makings of maybe the first 6 pages, you come to find out that Marie is alone this particular day, that every single person that worked with her or was supposed to work with her today has fallen ill. They either were sick at work or couldn't make it to work because they called out because they had gotten sick. This all either happened by the makings of a party, to where they were all drinking, or better yet, all got food poisoning. The kicker of this all is that Sergeant Burgau is about 8 to 9 months pregnant. right? How that shapes the story is going to be particularly, I'm going to say, you're going to feel nervous watching the pages, because if you come to find out that the protagonist of the story is an 8-month to 9-month pregnant woman, you feel for her in these instances. As a matter of fact, you feel the tension between her and Mrs. Waters as they're having this particular conversation about her son being lost in this swamp area. But you do understand that she can handle herself, right? But all in all, emergency calls may happen. The makings of finding Mrs. Waters' son are what are driven through those first 3 pages, where you find that one individual having that mental episode. And it starts a whirlwind that you find yourself looking at and feeling like somebody 8 to 9 months pregnant should not be going through. And it leads to the beginnings of an ultimate cliffhanger and how this story is going to propel forward going into the next latter issues. But I look forward to seeing more of this. I feel like Si Spurrier doesn't really do a lot of crime, and the fact that he's chosen a particular setting in down bottom Louisiana, providing itself with the context of an underworld driven into a wildlife refuge, does make for the happenings of a good book. All right, so I will be looking forward to seeing more of this. As a matter of fact, issue 1 releases in July, so look out for that. And we will talk more about this and issue 2 in the future. So for everybody here at the Facts Project, stay tuned for more on the channel.